Hi, I'm Virginia Derryberry, and you're watching For Art's Sake. In this one, I can't remember exactly why it was. I think it was because I wanted to emphasize that this was obviously a longer rectangle than that. And for me, it didn't quite work as well just to put one on top of the other. So this is a way of saying, yes, indeed, I did intend that to pop out compositionally. I also, and again, I can't remember, but I think when I was initially starting it, I was going to have the upper canvas be the same width as that, but I changed my mind because I really wanted to show more of her upper body. So I found another canvas and I kind of started over again and thought about that stacking. It also plays with something else that interests me, which is the idea of how gravity and levity are in conversation. Gravity being falling down, being anchored, levity being floating and above. So I switched that. Normally a small piece would be seemingly above and a larger below, but I flipped it. So once again, making the viewer feel like, why is that? And having their own. Well, it's like dreams. You know, when you have a dream, they're usually pieces that are missing or things that come in that you don't expect. But it's still your dream, and there are connections that you have to make. So, yeah, I mean, if it makes the viewer think that there are other things happening beyond the composition, that's great too. I love to paint water. I always have. Even when I wasn't doing figure paintings, I had water in those architectural paintings that I used to do. Number one, it's hard to paint. It's really hard to paint because the surface of water is always moving, right? So I take photographs, but I also make all kinds of things up. And I especially love when there are reflections or you can see through the water and how the color of the water changes the color of the skin. I love that, right? So that's the kind of thing that I look for when I start a painting like this. This is actually the woman whose face you can't see. Again, there's that crop. Is a former student of mine, and that's her daughter. Right? And I asked them to pose for me multiple times in this beautiful stream. And so this particular pose really attracted me because you can see so much of her body, of the child's body. But it's not cutesy pie, right? It's a body, it's a beautiful body. And the hands are really important. And you can tell almost everything about their relationship just by the way they're standing. You don't need the words to know. I also enjoy doing this because most of it was pretty dark. You think of an outdoor scene as being really brightly lit, but there was so much shadow in the water. So I really played with that. Almost made some of the shadows and the figures have a purple cast. It may have been that the underpainting that I started was almost a purple. I'm not sure. I can't remember that. But then there's this really bright light on the upper part of the body. So you get the high contrast between the scene and the figure. And then her bathing suit, the woman's bathing suit, is pretty much, except for the very top, the same color. So there's that flatness, but the suggestion of volume. So once again, the scenario, the environment, is a specific place. Right? I was present at full eclipse of the sun. I think it was in 2018, I think so, 2017. And I didn't see these figures there. They weren't present. But I was there in the space with lots of other people, and I photographed lots and lots of photographs as the light changed. And if you, again, look closely, up in the sky up here, it's not just a blue, it's multiple blues, greens, and so on. I got really caught up in the color of the sky almost as much as the color of the sun and how the shadows on the ground changed everything. So when I got back, I decided that I would make this, bring these two figures together. This young woman was my massage therapist. That's her boyfriend, so, you know. Pulled in flowers from my yard, ended up putting a vase of them, you know, tree forms. I invented water down below. So again, I like to challenge myself with unusual canvas shapes. So like a vertical slash like that is as challenging to paint as a panoramic horizontal. Because one has to really think about how these edges of forms that are here are still important. They're almost like they're pressed to the side. And I had to really think about the light. I didn't worry so much about how the light was falling on the trees or the statue, but I really wanted the light to fall consistently on everything else. Again, do I have a plan when I start? Kind of, right? I knew it was going to be the eclipse landscape and these two figures, but I added, as I worked, the statue. I added all these as I went along because I got more and more interested in what was happening in the foreground so that it would balance the complexity of the face and the tattoos so it wouldn't sink away and feel like the figures were kind of falling into the viewer's space. And she had a tattoo like that, but I really focused on it because I just loved its shape. And then the snake down here in his hand, it's like, again, there was like a whole other kind of conversation. Some of these paintings are based on mythology, but I'm also really influenced by alchemy, which is, alchemy was the forerunner of modern science. And many artists and scientists from, you know, pre-Renaissance and Renaissance, and now too, contemporary, really think about how alchemy is about opposition and contrast, and really focused on not letting contrast be war and fighting, but more dialogue. How to bring two oppositions or two differences together. And there are, you know, they pull in from mythology as well, but it's very much about, again, day, night, eclipse, real light, as you said, fertility, bareness, right? And those are the kinds of things that really interest me as I work. This painting is based on mythology, primarily Medusa. Did I start out with that idea in the painting? Not really. It was going to be this almost godlike figure. Oh, I don't know. It could be Poseidon. It says Jupiter. That's actually my son without a portrait of him, just kind of the crop part. And as I painted it, I realized that the drapery that the clothing that she was wearing and the situation was too monochromatic. So I thought, I'm putting in some snakes. Then it became Medusa, right? What else is happening with it now is that I am actually in the process of starting another panel that takes the scene further. And I've got an image of that today for the talk of the underpainting, just the start of it. We'll see if it works. That takes it on in, because the real story of Medusa is that she got in trouble with a lot of people. And she took it out on a lot of people. And finally the last one was Perseus. And he kind of took her out. So the final panel over here is probably going to be a Perseus form. There you go. My favorite part about this is the blue of the sky. Usually I put clouds or variations, but again, for this particular painting, I wanted the flatness of sky, because it really, really pushes all of these other forms forward. And again, if you look closely at it, you can see variations in the color. I've even shown the color of the flesh being reflected into the white drapery, because that happens a lot, right? If there's really bright light, it can actually make that color seem to be a part of the object that's falling next to it.